So for the past 8 weeks, the highly anticipated show known as WandaVision has been streaming on Disney+, and I have been so excited to watch it and have been on the edge of my seat every week to check out each episode. So today, I'm going to talk about the entire full season right now. So let's talk about it. Wow, hello everybody, I'm LegoDude11, and today we're going to talk about the entire season of WandaVision. If you're wondering what WandaVision is, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what the main premise is right now. So WandaVision is a MCU Disney Plus show about two superhero individuals who make their way in living into a suburban town in New Jersey, and they have to They just kind of live their lives, and starts out in a 1950s sitcom, and from there, in the first 5 episodes, a little bit of a mystery starts to unwind, and kind of unfolds from there, and something just seems not quite right. So that's the main sort of premise of the show. Now, I want to preface that if you've been watching this video so far this much, I want to preface it. There are spoilers in this video. There are going to be spoilers. I want to have a friendly chat down below. If you want to talk anything you like, if you want to chat, if you want to, don't leave any hurtful or mean comments below, but if you want to chat, feel free. There will be spoilers down below, so I don't want to make this a thing like, oh, don't read the comments. Go ahead and read it. This will be a spoiler review. Kicking things off, I have my little notes here. And that was pretty much the preface of this video. I have lots of stuff to get to, so this is going to be a little bit of a long video. And I've been super duper eager and excited to make this review. Each week I've been like, yes, I cannot wait to make this review. So we're going to kick things off with the good and the beginning of the series. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. I'm not going to go through each Easter egg because why would I bother doing that? I've seen different sources of videos. I do watch this channel called New Rockstars, who does break down each episode. I am not that person who breaks down each episode. I just kind of wanted to go through and talk about my general thoughts on each episode, general thoughts on the season, and like the things I like most and certain things of that aspect. But let's get off starting quickly about the season as a whole, or just kind of each episode, frankly, in that aspect. What I loved is that this show, like, I guess I'm starting out too biased here, but with the finale in mind, it's just so many people their minds have turned, and I feel like I'm not that way, but we'll get to that later in this video. Excuse me. But when they started this show, even with the pitch in mind, when I heard about this show, I was on board with it. I was like, yes, sitcoms and Marvel, put it together, and what do you have? You have reached my expectations for anything. By far, this was the MCU project I was most looking forward to in a long while. That being said, I thought this like what I first wrote down here, this was a fresh new concept and a totally different thing Marvel has ever done. And these were kind of quirky. The first ones were, like the first 3, and then you get into the 4th one, and your questions are sort of answered, which I think is what everyone wanted. But I think that, yeah, it was like a neat, different genre, because Marvel always does these different genres. I mean, if you're talking about Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, definitely Captain America, and I mean, is like a different genre. It's tone set, in the World Wars, and I think even in the First World War, you see Captain America. It's just totally different. But this aspect is different because you're in a 1950s sitcom. I don't think anybody expected this one. I mean, obviously you've heard that, oh, WandaVision is coming out, but we didn't, before WandaVision, we didn't expect that we're going to get a 1950s sitcom for Marvel or, any decades. So it's a nice, quirky, fresh, different side of content for Marvel. Then going into the kind of next, little bit I wrote down was the score. I just wanted to take the time to mention the score of this show was phenomenally done by not Michael Giacchino, sorry, almost got that wrong. Christoph Beck, who did Ant-Man. So, which was a nice little not reference or Easter egg, just kind of a nice new, have him like do the music, compose the music for this, because Jimmy Woo, Randall Park, who plays Jimmy Woo in this, was in Ant-Man and Ant-Man, or no, just Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it was kind of cool to have him back directing the music or composing the music. I gotta make sure when I'm recording this too, because my camera goes for a certain amount of length. But so yeah, nice to have him there. I thought Michael Giacchino did the MCU fanfare for the like 30 seconds you hear at the beginning, so that's kind of cool. But he didn't really like compose any of the music for the show. And then going off of there, I have the two categories I want to talk about: mystery and genre. I kind of already talked about that, like a new type of genre. I love the mystery aspect of the show, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later of how the season wrapped up with the whole mystery aspect tied into a nice little bow, which I thought they did, but I'll tell you why in a little bit later. Going in, kind of going to talk about now the different decades, different, kind of stumbled on my words there, kind of different episode chapter marks, kind of not really each Easter egg about what happened in each like little minute, but just the Easter eggs in the decades. So what I mean by that is, if you're kind of still confused, is I wanted to go through each intro segment of each episode of each WandaVision TV style, because many people were like, wow, this is a really big show. Because even I thought was really creative is they took the MCU and the WandaVision sitcoms merged in, which I obviously knew that. I think everybody did. But it was really neat to see how they had like an intro for Marvel, an intro for WandaVision, and then the actual WandaVision credits theme song. So it was kind of like they had three intros in one show, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Like the MCU theme, you got the WandaVision theme, you got the MCU credit, or the WandaVision theme. So anyway, so I'm going to break down each episode intro, or each WandaVision segment intro. So starting off, we have the episode 1 is Dick Van Dyke. And kind of going off, we open up in the Dick Van Dyke setup. And I guess that's kind of it. We don't really get anything else. It's just the whole episode is Dick Van Dyke related. So that's kind of pretty much episode 1 for you. Episode 2 is the Bewitched parody. And that is just pretty much it. Again, we have the Bewitched-esque setup, the whole layout of the house, and the theme is Bewitched style in that animation. So, not really anything else to mention about episode 2, which is kind of unfortunate, but hey, what are you going to do? Episode 3 is the first episode where they reference 3 different sitcoms. And this is the one I called out immediately the week before. I was like, next week's definitely going to be Brady Bunch, and it was heavily inspired? What is that even a word? Inspired by Brady Bunch. And it was, open up the intro, which is actually the first thing that happens in this episode, because some of the other episodes have like a different scene, or like a previously on, I guess there was a previously on segment before the intro, but then after that, it's like ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, and the music is actually, there's different, what is it called? Different like shapes that reference the Brady Bunch. Instead of squares, they're hexagons to reference not AIM. It's not the organization AIM. It's actually just the hex to reference the hexagon, or the hex that Wanda expands. So that's that. They have like kind of like the Brady Bunch style pictures there in a hexagon shape, and the music is inspired from the Partridge Family theme that goes ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba, be happy, or whatever. I don't want to get copyrighted here, but that's how it goes. It's also from the song that was in Ant-Man and the Wasp at the end that goes, or it's the same style. Like, it's really cool that they have like these references from Ant-Man and the Wasp into this show, the parody music. So that's what that music's from. And then also there was another reference as well. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I can't remember off the top of my head. If you remember, drop it in the comments below. I'm trying to remember what the other reference of sitcom was to this era. I know there is one. I forget what it is, but I try to write down everything, and I didn't write it down. But the fourth episode, or the set of the third episode, was based on Brady Bunch. Their house the inside of their house looked like the inside of the house that Brady Bunch does. So that's pretty much it for episode 3. Episode 4, we get 3 different sitcoms as well. Or I should say episode 4. Episode 4 had no sitcoms because this episode was we interrupt our program, getting all of our questions answered and getting to see the outside world panorama, getting to see the outside world view, say that 3 times fast, my goodness, outside world view of the MCU and see outside of the WandaVision sitcom show and what's going on out there, and then get our questions answered like, oh, how did Geraldine appear? How Jimmy Woo's here? The radio, what's the helicopter mean? The drone? All of this stuff is finally answered to us. Going ahead to the 5th episode now, which is our next sitcom episode that has 3 more sitcoms to be referenced, and also a bit of a weird thing that I'm going to talk about right now. So first off, the intro is heavily based off of Full House. When they run to the gazebo, they're kind of the house is kind of Full House-esque. The music in this is based off of Family Ties when the marker starts going across and everything. It's referenced based off of Family Ties, and also there's a reference to the sitcom Growing Pains as well, which I've never seen that show, but I guess there was a reference to Growing Pains, and which I know more about Family Ties than I do that. But then Full House, when they run up together and have like a little picnic, that's a reference to Full House, which is cool. And they're kind of like dressed like they were in Full House, like the 80s style show, which is kind of cool. And also they have different, like the pillow on their couch is like one blue pillow, and there's like a Kiss the Cook sign in the kitchen, which is a reference to Family Ties. So I like kind of those little Easter eggs to sitcoms and stuff, which is kind of a neat thing in my opinion, because my family has on sitcoms on loop currently in our house. Like we'll have on like Family Ties on an old channel, or Third Rock from the Sun, or something like that. It's just constantly, or my mom will have on Brady Bunch, and it's not irritating, it's just like, oh yeah, I like this, it's a funny sitcom, so let's throw it on. But constantly, like nothing is never a sitcom. Like we'll have on a sitcom or something, or a game show or something like that. It never ends. But anyway, that was pretty much the 5th. Another thing about the 5th episode I kind of found odd was that she had on her outfit, or she had 2 outfits in this episode. One was her like white style sweater outfit with her hair kind of down like this, and then after the intro, when the intro plays in, and after the rest of the runtime of the episode for her outfit, she wears like this Roseanne-esque kind of outfit, and I'm like, huh. Like, after this episode, no one ever mentions that she's dressed like Roseanne Connor from The Connors, or Roseanne. And I'm like, I thought there was going to be a Roseanne-style type episode. No, totally wrong about that. Instead, this episode, she's just wearing like a Roseanne-type getup. And I'm like, okay, so nobody mentions that? Like, after the fact, like, hey, did you know this? Nope. Didn't, nope. Alright, sure, whatever. But that was that. She kind of did look like Roseanne from Roseanne Connor. Real quick, I'm gonna take a drink break. Alright, so kicking things off with episode number 6, kind of said that quickly. Episode number 6 was Malcolm in the Middle inspired. This one only had 1 sitcom. Just because, and that's not a disappointment in my opinion. That's just alright. Didn't really need to be anything else, because they tried to mix the sitcom in with Halloween. So I think with that, it kind of made it a little bit more difficult to add a little bit more references. So the only one was the theme song was heavily inspired by Malcolm in the Middle. The kids talked at the camera, kind of like I am right now. But because, I apologize if you hear my dog barking up there, this was a little bit of a dog barking cameo. But they talked to the camera like Malcolm does in Malcolm in the Middle. And I've never watched that show. But, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was neat. There wasn't much sitcoms like references in this episode, but I thought it was okay. I liked the overall style that they were going for. Episode number 7 kicks in, releases, and I think this was my favorite sitcom episode. Actually, I like the Brady Bunch one and this one, but I think this was my favorite because it was just more modern, no pun intended there, more modern and like present day type style episode. And there are 3 sitcoms once again, all chunked into one in this episode. If we go inside the intro, the music was heavily inspired by The Office, and many people were disappointed when there was no Office like reference, because they're like, oh, Vision works at an office, of course we're going to get him working at the office. But no, it's not the case. I was a little, excuse me, kind of a voice crack. I was a little bit disappointed by that, but I'm like, hey, what are you going to do? That's not where they were going, trying to lead to have him at the office. They're trying to go in forward with the story, actually aspect of what they're trying to wrap up. But anyway, the music was inspired by The Office in the intro. The actual pictures, like the refrigerator magnets, the cloud, the computer, the desktop, the little computer buttons, and so forth, was based off of the sitcom directed by the Russo brothers called Happy Endings, which I've never seen, never heard of it until that I looked it up, which was kind of a neat reference there. And also the ending logo that said WandaVision was a reference to Modern Family. And also a reference to Modern Family was the entire episode where they look at the camera. She was dressed like Claire Dunphy, like Modern Family kind of does look like that. And the house was inspired by Modern Family. So I called it. Before the episode came out. I was like, yes, next week's going to be Modern Family, not The Office, because if you saw in the trailer, she does look like Claire Dunphy, like Modern Family does. That was pretty much all the sitcoms, because then next episode we get our previously on segment, which was, before I talk about that though, I did love every single one, because every single sitcom, because I was like, yes, we get a reference to this, we get a reference to this, we get a reference to this, and it just seemed like nobody cared that we had these sitcom style references in this MCU show. And I'm like, I personally cared because I'm a huge fan of sitcoms. So if you're that person, let me know in the comments below, and you can be like, hey, I don't care about this, or just let me know. I mean, seriously, just why do these people not care? And I'm the only one that cares. Like, I don't know. But that's my point of view. I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to speak negatively. I'm just stating my opinion. But let's move on, because we have 2 more episodes to get to. The second to last was the previously on segment, and I just spit on my table. We have our previously on, which was kind of my least favorite episode, but a really important one nonetheless. Just kind of explaining Wanda's backstory to what happened in her life as a child, and what happened with the reaction to the Mind Stone, and also what her connection between her and Vision after Civil War, or I guess after Age of Ultron, in between Civil War time period, before Infinity War, and then you see her go to get the Vision's body. That all unfolds. I'm not really going to talk about that episode. I just kind of like wanted to talk about more of my thoughts and whatnot. I'm not really going to talk about the breakdown, but that one was kind of a neat episode. And then we get to the finale, which was bonkers. The biggest episode they were saving the budget for, like, no doubt about it. But I liked this one, and it was like, it didn't exceed my expectations, and I wasn't looking for anything else. Like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this disappointed me. There were some things that were disappointing. I think the biggest thing I would say that disappointed me the most, just like every other person on the planet that watched this, was Ralph. And I think, in my opinion, like, I don't think anybody understood that it was supposed to be Ralph who Agnes was referencing, which it was. But it was like, what are you going to do about it? Like, yes, you wanted something else, but it was like, what were you wanting? And it wasn't like, yes, the Fox X-Men Quicksilver would have been the best route to go, but what did you seriously want by that? And it's like, in my opinion, I was like, okay, whatever. Because that's not really what the MCU... Yes, some people were like, okay, he could be tied to the Multiverse of Madness, but that's not what Marvel wants. They always have something else in mind. They always have a different plan. And I think with that like plot point, that's not what they wanted. They just wanted, it was a red herring, and it's not what Marvel was going for. So in my terms, it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's Ralph, I knew it all along. But it was just like, he could have been anybody. If it was Nightmare, I would have been like, yeah, I told you so. If it was Ralph, I'd been like, yeah, I kind of thought that too. So it was kind of like a mix of things, right? It was like, yeah, sure. But, and then, so that was kind of that whole thing. Like, I wasn't really disappointed by it, but it was kind of like one thing I was like, sure, whatever. It wasn't like if he was Nightmare, I would have been like, yeah, he's Nightmare, or just been like, yeah, he's Ralph all along. I knew it. It was like, sure, he's Ralph. Okay, yeah, but it's just a mixture of things, right? The next thing I'm going to talk about, kind of disappointing, or not really disappointing. I didn't really have. Many people were disappointed by the fact that White Vision just left, and Vision restored the Hex Vision just restored the memories to that Vision, and some people thought that was lame. I don't know what to think about that. I didn't really think it was lame because Paul Bettany said he's not fired, or he still has a job, and he could be in a new MCU project. So, leads me to believe we might see White Vision again. Maybe not. I mean, again, she says at the end of the episode, we will see each other again. So, leads me to believe we will A, see White Vision, B, see another Vision created once again, or I guess just those two options. But it's really difficult to say, and I'm not really disappointed by that. I don't really know what the cause of it lame being. I don't know what was the cause of it being lame, but I don't know. It was just, alright, that's how they wrote that storyline. That's how they ended it. I mean, he gave him back his memories, and that's it. But I don't really know what else to say about that. I'm just kind of like a mixture of things, man. But, anyway, I kind of wrote down the general thoughts as a whole, why I love this. So, general thoughts on this season, or just WandaVision as a whole. I don't know why they would need to do a season 2, if they do one. If they do, great. I'll watch it. I mean, I'm going to watch anything Marvel related, but I love this. It, again, as I mentioned earlier, it was something fresh and different that the MCU, different take on something, like different new content. Some people are like, have way huge mixed feelings for the show, and I don't. Like, I'm like, it's a different, fresh, different content, a sitcom, merged with Marvel, I'm hooked. And it's like, what's not to love? Like, if you either love it or you hate it. I mean, some people might be in the middle, but I'm like, and even for Marvel, like, since I'm a huge Marvel fanboy, it's like, you ask me, do I love WandaVision? Yeah. It's like, what? And somebody says, oh, no, I don't. I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. I have my opinion. It's like, why are so many people mixed feelings? But I'm like, whatever. So, general thoughts as a whole, it's up there. If you ask me what episode's my least favorite, if I have a least, like, because if you're talking about Mandalorian, and you say, hey, do you like the season? Oh, yeah. Do you, like, are all the episodes up there? Definitely not. It's like a movie. Are all the scenes, like, of a movie the same exact, like, excitement? Of course not. So how do you rank it, like, WandaVision? I mean, not all the episodes are great, but you have to think of the whole season as a movie. You can't take one episode out and then say, oh, this is how I want to watch the season, because it makes totally no sense, because you just watched the season without one episode. So it's like, yeah, you gotta watch the whole thing to understand what it is. So, I love the whole season, love the whole show, and very curious to see if they do another season. I would rank this show, I don't know, like, I want to say 10 out of 10, really, I do, but I think there were some flaws with it, but I would give it a 9.5, actually, because I was really anticipating this show after I heard the pitch. And I've heard a couple people say that this was their least favorite show out of the ones they announced, like Falcon and Winter Soldier's up there. I am totally excited, stoked for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but this, I'd give it 9 out of 10. Most people would, I think, that I've heard would give it like a 6.5, 7 or something like that. But for me, I'm going to give it a higher ranking and a 9.5 just because I was so on board with it. The sitcoms made it really nice, really fresh, and I'm trying to think of the other aspect. The MCU level, like, once it kicked in, like, Agnes. The villains, I also love the villains, too. Agnes just did a great job. Catherine Hahn's character is brilliant. She's a great actress. She brought Agnes to life, Agatha Harkness, and I loved, I forgot to mention this, guys. The Agatha song was heavily based off of the Munsters theme, which was based off of the Munsters theme. Some people thought it was from the show, the Munsters, which is like this creepy, not kind of horror / monsters show. some people thought it was kind of like the Addams Family theme, but it wasn't, because the Addams Family song is kind of upbeat, but it's not as upbeat as the Mustards, which goes down. I'm trying to think. So that's kind of how it goes. So it's kind of upbeat with that, like it was Agatha all along, kind of like that. So there you go. It's my little bit of singing for today. But and I also wrote down where the MCU will go. And I already told you about my love for sitcoms. Did you not already know I had love for sitcoms? I love The Big Bang Theory, by the way. It's my favorite sitcom. I've watched it for years. I've watched it since I was a child, all the way up till now. I still watch it on reruns, so I love that show. Big Bang Theory is kind of what got me into sitcoms, and I've watched a bunch from there. So I love that. And I thought this was going to introduce the Multiverse of Madness, which it sort of did, because the post-credit scene of the entire show at the very, very end does kind of introduce us to the Multiverse of Madness. If you're wondering why I think that, and if you're kind of curious as to like, no it didn't, but it did, because this is my theory. And until next year when Multiverse of Madness comes out, I'm calling this right away. Because if you see that there's 2 Wandas, and if you're like, what does that mean? Well, my theory is that Wanda, after WandaVision, just kind of went to this house and is staying there. And that's my theory. And then Wanda goes to see Doctor Strange and uses the Darkhold book for some spells, whatever, and probably goes back in time with Doctor Strange and is there going to do something. Now, that's just my theory. Could be totally wrong. I mean, take that with a grain of salt as you will, but just like everything else Marvel. But I think that could be it, guys. Like, you know, she goes to see Doctor Strange. That's my theory. Like, with this show going into the ramp of the Multiverse of Madness, this has to go somewhere. That has to be it. Because what else? Like, going into the Multiverse of Madness movie, which, by the way, is going to be the first horror MCU film, which I'm super duper excited about that. But going into this movie, if they show nothing about WandaVision, like, oh yeah, we're not going to reference this show, which is supposed to be the ramp of the Multiverse of Madness, be like, what? So what was the point of this show then? But nonetheless, I'm not going to get into any more arguments about that. I'm just going to say that that would make the most sense. That she would be somehow tied to, like, the Doctor Strange movie, and, like, her having the Darkhold, casting some spells, her probably, like, it's like a past version, or a future version of her from the future, and her trying to get revenge on, I don't know what, honestly, she would be, like, doing there, but that's my thought. Like, it's a different version of Wanda, so I don't know, we'll just have to wait and find out. But that's my theory about that post-credit scene. So yeah, where this will go with the MCU, what did I write down? Yeah, where the MCU will go. I don't, like, again, I have so many things about this show because I watched so many videos and so many different things, sources and stuff, of like how this will tie in. And it's mainly going to tie into the Multiverse of Madness. After Falcon and Winter Soldier, my curiosity lies, like, my excitement is big. My excitement was big for this, but my excitement for Falcon and Winter Soldier is, like, bigger, but it's, I don't know where Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to tie, what it's going to tie into. If it's just going to end and be like, okay, that's it. But where would that show tie in? Because it's like this, WandaVision, Loki, Multiverse of Madness, and Spider-Man No Way Home, the new Spider-Man movie, all are going to probably tie in together with multiverse stuff, right? So it's like, where does Falcon and Winter Soldier tie in? Is it going to be like, okay, here's our show, and that's going to, like, be jam-packed with stuff, and then that's it? Not going to tie in anything else? Because it's like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, WandaVision is going to tie into Multiverse of Madness. But I'm excited to see how that will tie in. And where the MCU goes, that's only time will tell with that. But I'm excited to see, like, how this will jump in, because there's nothing really else I can say as far as that post-credit scene is going to be related to Multiverse of Madness. And yeah, I mean, there's not too much else to say that it will tie in. But anyway, let's see. Start and finish, all wrapped up. First, before we get into that, I put a slash in the multiverse. That's kind of the same thing I wanted to talk about. The villains, I already talked about. Agatha, she was great. Catherine Hahn playing Agnes was great. Agatha. Kat Dennings playing Darcy again from the Thor movies. A nice new version of the character we haven't really seen before, because the Thor movies are just kind of but except Thor Ragnarok. But this new version of Darcy was cool to see her reprising her role as Darcy. Kat Dennings was kind of cool to see her. And Toyota Paris as Monica, the grown-up Monica, getting her official powers as Spectrum or Photon. They don't really reference her yet as her name, but I'm excited to see her more in action in a later movie, which I think in Captain Marvel 2 we will see her. And I guess she's not a villain. I just wanted to reference new people, new characters. And as well as we see Pietro, which we thought he was going to be a villain, or kind of a villain, but he was just a great actor, a great casting choice. Even though he was Ralph, as I mentioned earlier, it was fine. I just loved him as a character in the show, and to see him like as the cameo, not cameo, kind of cameo. But when he was shown to us briefly first, and you're like, whoa, like who is he? Is he Fox? Is he MCU? Who is he? So, just kind of cool, like, brief, like, not brief, but, you know, wow. Lost my words there. But it was cool to see him show up in that one episode. But yeah, that's all the characters I want to mention. Next thing, real quick, I want to mention the Darkhold. It was really cool to see the Darkhold book in the 7th episode. Yeah, this ending of the 7th episode. It was cool to see that, because I initially knew that was the Darkhold when it showed up, but it was cool because I have seen all 3 seasons of the Runaways. I have not watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so which I know those 2 shows aren't canon to the MCU, but it was cool to see this book because the Darkhold has been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, so it was kind of cool to see this book now officially in the MCU. So that was cool. Because I love Runaways. It's one of my favorite shows. Not MCU shows, but it's one of my favorite Marvel shows. I like it better. I've not seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but if I did watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I watched the first episode, and it was just a wild ride, man. Could not get into it. But yeah, I liked Runaways so much that I would watch it again, but I want to watch other things right now. So yeah, it was cool to see the Darkhold referenced in the show, and then they talk about it again in the 8th episode. Like, there's an entire chapter devoted to Scarlet Witch or Wanda in the Darkhold book, so it's kind of cool. And I guess she is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, as Agatha says, and which is Doctor Strange. So cool stuff referencing the Darkhold, or that the Darkhold references and that they brought in, so it's kind of cool. Which many of us thought Mephisto was going to be on it. By the way, I want to take time to reference Mephisto and Nightmare, because I still think I am not like, okay, when this show first came out, I thought Mephisto was going to be in it. Entire way through, it was like Mephisto, Mephisto, Mephisto. No, he's not in here. Until the Darkhold came up, and it was like, yes, the Darkhold's here. Mephisto's going to show up. That's not the case. But I'm still on the train. I'm not on the Mephisto train, I'm on the horror train, because as I said a couple minutes ago, the Doctor Strange movie is going to be the first horror film. And with that in mind, I think Nightmare will be in it. If Mephisto is in it, great. But I'm still leaning towards Nightmare being in the show, or in the movie, because he is a great character for horror / multiverse, Wanda magic type esque genre. He needs to be in it. If he's not, why? I'm going to say it right now in this video, why? Next year when the movie comes out, if he's not in it, I'm going to be... I just heard a dog barking. I'm going to be like, why? Will he not be in it? But he should be. So that's it. That's what I'm going to say about that. That happened, and so start to finish, all wrapped up. Pretty much all the things I want to talk about. This is the last thing. So... all wrapped up, as I said, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. And all wrapped, start to finish, I thought this season was a fun blast, and it all wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow. If there's anything else you would have liked me to talk about in this video, in this WandaVision review, leave a comment below. Just talking about something, like, leave a comment and just say, hey, did you enjoy this, blah blah blah. There was, again, as I said, the budget was mainly saved for the last finale episode, or the finale episode. which was great. I loved all the action. Everything about it was great. I loved the acting. As I said, Paul Bettany was great. Elizabeth Olsen, great job. Their chemistry is great together. And everyone else I mentioned did a great job. Toyota Paris, Catherine Hahn, Kat Dennings, Jimmy Woo. I didn't even mention Jimmy Woo. Whoa! Randall Park, I guess I did earlier. Randall Park did a great job as Jimmy Woo. I guess I did that earlier, but anyway, with my closing thoughts, 9.5 out of 10. Show's great. Go watch it. If you don't like this type of genre, don't watch it. But if you're into MCU, go watch it. If you're into sitcoms, go watch it. If you don't like sitcoms, just like MCU, I guess still go watch it. Like, I don't understand people like, oh, I don't like sitcoms, so I'm not going to watch it. But if you like MCU, go watch it, because it's not all about the sitcoms. Like, the sitcoms are part of it, but you have to watch it to understand where this show goes, where the MCU goes after this. Because it's just like, if you're watching it for the sitcoms, if you're watching it not for the sitcoms, like, something's wrong with you, and I don't know what your problem is. But besides that, I had a fun time with it. You might have a fun time with it. If you haven't seen the show, why did you watch the entire video? That's kind of my question. If you have seen it, if you haven't seen it, thank you for watching this video. Like, if you are now intrigued to go watch the show, go watch it. But thank you guys so much for watching this WandaVision full season review, spoiler review. To be more specific. Don't forget to hit that like button down below. Subscribe down below to my channel, Lego Dude 11. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. But before I end the video, I want to give a brief shout out to my friend, the Lego Brick 122, over on Instagram and also on YouTube. He did make the brand new intro segment for me that was at the beginning of this video. If you did see that, that was made by the Lego Brick. He's been very helpful for me to make that for me, and I hope that he can do some new creative and helpful things in the future. Thank you so much to him. That was a little shout out for you. Might link some of his stuff down below, and maybe something up here, maybe not. But as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me over at Boba Fett Giant Master, which will be linked down below at my Instagram page. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me, and as always, don't forget to keep calm and play Lego. See you guys in the next video. Not 2 weeks. 2 weeks we'll be starting Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then after that I'll be doing a review for that as well, and other MCU shows as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me. Don't forget to keep calm, play Lego. Bye everyone.